everyone. We're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. We're going to like us and follow us. We're going to be sharing this right after the show. And my next guest I've had on with me now a few times. I have with me Caryn Kommers, and she's the broker associate of Bold Realty. Welcome back to the show. Let me talk, okay, for a second. I love you because you're the most personable person I've ever met, and it just fits everything about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're good at what you do, okay? You're someone that somebody can for sure trust, okay? Because that's how you've built your business, all about integrity, honesty, and service. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I love being on your show.
Thank you. That was
always
very
fun to be with
you. Thank you. One day I want you to have your own show because there's so much information out there, and that's what I love about when I listen to you the very first time is how you explain to everybody literally step by step so that they understand the contracts that they're getting into.
I think that's one of the things that, number one, agents don't know the contract well enough to explain it. And then you have clients who are in the midst of a transaction and they've got a lot more anxiety than they should because they don't know what's coming around the next corner. They don't even know the next corner is coming. And I feel like when we sit down at the beginning of a relationship and go over the contract, either when we're a buyer, when I'm working with a buyer or I'm working with a seller, they come away going, oh my gosh, I had no idea there was all this up I was supposed to know. But on the other hand, I feel so confident because I know you know how to get me through this.
Right. And it's a big deal when somebody's buying their home. It doesn't matter if it's your first home or not. It's a big deal. It's a big purchase. I know that you also are doing something. First of all, I want to get out a few things, okay? You always work with people, do a free consultation. You've been doing this for 25 years.
January will be 25 years.
Congratulations on that. You know Arizona. And also somewhere else. I remember you're not from Arizona. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Washington State. That's where I started my career in January of 1995.
Oh my God!
And so I had a Washington license. Then I moved to Chicago. So I had an Illinois license. Then I moved to Kansas City. So I had a Kansas license, and I got a Missouri license, and then came out to Arizona. So I knew I'm really good at taking tests.
And well, you know what? You're really good at what you do because you are so knowledgeable and make sure that everybody understands exactly what they're doing. And today, you said that you wanted to talk a little bit about the home inspection section of the purchase contract.
So our Arizona real estate contract that we use here, the residential one that we use, is a boilerplate language, but in it, it says that the buyer has a home inspection. It's in the contract called a due diligence period. Honestly, that is a time where the buyer, they've already agreed on a price, they've already agreed on closing, they've already agreed on terms with the seller, but now they have the pretty much unfettered access to go to the property and do whatever kinds of inspection they are willing to pay for. Most of the time, what a buyer will do is they'll hire a home inspector who will do a full building inspection for them. And the other one that we always recommend to our clients is a termite inspection, because homes in Arizona either have termites, had them, or will. Those little buggers live here, and you need to know if it's something that you need to be aware of on a particular property. But other things that people investigate are well water, or what's that brown substance or black substance that's kind of stinky on the wall? Is it mold or is it just dirt? We need to know that. Mm-hmm. Maybe the roof needs a little more intensive inspection than a home inspector would be willing to do or able to do. Sometimes I have a home inspector who will say, I don't know, what's wrong with that air conditioner? But you should have somebody come in and look at it because I can't get it to do what it's supposed to do, and you'll need a specialist to do that. You can do all those inspections during your due diligence period.
And at that time, you're going to know whether you want to either fix some of those things or purchase a house or not.
Or negotiate them with the seller.
And the price.
The other things that are sometimes people don't think about is, what about the crime stats in the area? What about sex offenders? When I will look at families that I work with sometimes, and I will say, I want you to check your neighborhood. Because what I don't want to find out is that you just moved into a house that you absolutely love, that lives next to a whatever offender, a halfway house or whatever, and now you're there with your 3 darling children, in fear for their safety.
We live in a different world today. I guarantee you 50 years ago that wasn't something people necessarily thought about, but it's huge
And
now.
it was an issue back then, too,
It
but
was.
there
It's
was no
never
way
not
for them
been.
to know.
Right, and now there is, and there's so many things that you want to look into, and that's a perfect thing that you would bring up. It sounds like something that you would think about because you're thinking about your clients and what their needs are, and they're not thinking about that. They just want to say, oh, I love the home. It's so pretty, right?
And sometimes people call me and say, we want to move into XYZ high school. Well, if we find a house in XYZ high school district, during that due diligence period, I'm going to want you to call the school district, make sure that they aren't changing the boundaries this summer. Out in the East Valley, there are several school districts that changed boundaries this summer, and people ended up in schools they didn't necessarily want to be in. There were boundary exceptions and they could stay, but still, if you're buying a house because you want to be in that school, you need to know for sure.
This is what I'm talking about with you and how you service your clients, that you make sure you find out about them. I think that's what's really neat about you too, is that it starts with a conversation. When someone's buying a home, I think what you do is want to find out practically everything about them so that you know what their needs are.
Absolutely. Because you know what? The other thing is, many, many, many of my clients are also my friends. And I met them through the real estate transaction. Heck, that's how I met my husband.
Yeah, that's what you said. Every single time it's been fun like that. Well, it happens. Now, you also said that you do something special for your clients, and it's I think it was the warranty that you said.
One of the things, this is something we're going to do for KFNX listeners, that when they call me directly and say, hey, I heard about you on the radio, and you end up doing a piece of business with us, whether it's a buyer transaction or a seller transaction, we will contribute $500 toward a home warranty in that transaction.
So you can call her direct. Her number is 602-373-0115. It's boldrealtyaz.com. She's valley-wide. She works both with the home buyer and seller. Okay, so you understand that. She does free consultations with everyone. You can also call in to me, and I will connect you with her as well. The number here is 602-277-5369. So many people moving in, especially right now. School just started, right? And some of them are just basically really just starting, right?
Some schools around the country, I think, just started today. In Arizona, it's September.
Right.
It's the first Tuesday after Labor Day.
And a lot of people have family coming in soon, too. And one thing we know is when people come into Arizona, they want to live here.
Especially if they come in January or February or November when it's snowing where they came from and it's gorgeous here.
Right, right. And you have a lot of people that want to live. Scottsdale's, I've heard, the number one area for people to want to live. Is that correct?
I think Gilbert is another big one. Chandler has been notoriously a big one.
What areas are coming up? Now, you work in any area, right?
Yes, because you know why? We are referral. And when someone calls me and says, in fact, I got a message through Messenger earlier today from a gal that I know, and she goes, my son has been trying to find this, and I swear the real estate agent he was referred to just doesn't want to deal with it because it's not a big enough commission. And you know what I'm going to say is, that boy needs me. His mom has asked me to participate, and what I want to do is help him have the best transaction. And to me, it's not about the money. And here's what happens over those years is, he's going to buy this first condo, then he's going to, at some point in his life later, remember that I was the one who helped him buy this and the good job that we did for him, and he's going to come back to us because he trusts us for the next purchase.
Sure.
And his friends are going to say, and he's going to say, oh, you got to call Caryn. It builds.
That's the way it always is in your industry.
It's doing the right thing.
And you know what? Here's the thing, people. You know, whether you're going to downsize right now, there's a lot of people that might want to do that. There's a lot of people that might not realize that they can own a home. Can you help people with people that they're renting and they might say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore and I want to get into, can you help people with that?
I have one client right now and their rent is about $400 a month more than when they buy the house that we're looking at buying.
It's all about, you know what, it's your story. You have to sit down and talk to her, find out exactly where you stand, and she can help you. She is top notch on her service, on the way that you handle your clients, your integrity, your honesty, and the way that you help anyone, no matter what.
Thank you.
I love it. And again, you can check her up on her website. It is boldrealtyaz.com. She's valley-wide. You can call her direct. That phone number is 602-373-0115. Again, she does free consultations. She's been doing it for 25 years. And if you call her through me, you can call me too. She's going to, anyone that works with her is going to give her you a $500 bonus towards, is that how you want to say it?
At closing, we will provide $500 toward a warranty. You just got to say you're a KFNX Carol Blonder listener.
And let me tell you how important those are, guys. You're going to want one because whenever you buy a house, there's things that go wrong, and that helps a lot. What a wonderful gift. Again, you can check her out on her website. It's boldrealtyaz.com. She's valley-wide. The phone number to call her, 602-373-0115. And remember to tell them you heard it on Networking Arizona. You're going to have $500 towards your home warranty from her. Again, that number, 602-373-0115, or call here, 602-277-5369. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Caryn Kommers. She's the broker associate of Bold Realty. We were talking at the break a little bit about the inspection and what people can expect and things like that. And one of the things that you wanted me to ask you was for me to be able to tell you how important is it for the kind of inspector or who they choose that comes in and does the home inspection.
There's several accrediting boards around the country that send a home inspector through a process so that they have a checklist that they go through, teach them how to look for things, all of that. So a lot of that is the same. But when it comes down to it, I think the things that differentiate is the report that the inspector sends you. I can't tell you how many times still, what year is it? 2019? I get a photocopied, non-carbon paper page thing that is the inspector's report, where he just checked off the boxes. If you're just using an inspector who all he has to do is check off the boxes, there's not room for them to elaborate. And if he doesn't have enough technology to actually use something besides NCR paper, come on. You know, that's just way back. The inspector that I use a lot, and I refer a lot, I should say. I don't use them. It's my clients who use them, but I refer him. I've been referring him for 10 years. Clients will come back to me and say, is that same Inspector Patrick that we used before, is he still doing it? We really, really liked him. His report was good. He sends good pictures, so we don't have to crawl in the attic in July and look at what he's trying to tell us. And he does a really, really nice recap at the end. He starts in the garage. He talks about everything in the garage he checked. He walks around the outside of the house, points things out. Here's your water meter. Here's your main breaker. You know, here, look up on the roof there. You can see that little spot. I'm going to call that out as something you might want to have a roofer look at or might want to look at as a repair. And he's just really good. And at the same time, he's not saying, oh my gosh, you should not buy this house. I have even had houses where he's called me at the beginning of the inspection before the client and I show up for the recap at the end. And he said, did you know this house had blah, blah, blah. In this instance, what it was that the polybutylene pipes. And polybutylene pipes are something that your homeowner's insurance policy says if it has it and there's an accident or a leak, we're not covering it. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know they were there and you didn't tell us and there's a leak, we're still not covering it. Which means if you find out a house has those polybutylene pipes, the only thing that can be done is they need to be replaced, because your lender wants you to have full insurance, you want to have full insurance, and the insurance company's not going to cover them otherwise. And in that particular instance, when I called the listing agent, he said, no, seller really doesn't want to do that. I'm like, well, my folks don't want to buy a house that they can't insure. And he was like, well, okay, seller's just going to keep the house then. Because we even were educating the seller and the seller's agent that the insurance companies didn't want to cover the polybutylene pipes. So
it's important. Now, I know you help both the seller and the buyer, But so when you are talking with your sellers, I'm assuming that you're going to say to them, look, we better make sure that because we want to get the best price we can too for the house. So do you have all of that taken care of too before you obviously take on a new client, or not to take them on, but say this is what we want to make sure the house is up to snuff in order to sell it to the best of your ability?
If a house is of a certain age, I'm going to point out things that have come up on inspections. You know, if it's in that 80s to early 90s, we're going to talk about polybutylene pipes. If it's a house that has popcorn ceiling, we're going to talk about the popcorn ceiling being an issue, and maybe it has asbestos in it. You know, that's something that might come up, because you as a seller need to know what the buyer's inspector is going to find too. And then I talk about with people too about what's customary to ask. As a seller, I'm going to tell you, you know, this is an issue you may want to take care of, or you might want to wait till the buyer actually asks for it, because if you've got Mr. Fix-It and Madam Fix-It buying the house, they're probably willing to take it on.
Sure.
If you've got somebody who doesn't have that kind of skill set, they're going to ask you to take it on, and then you haven't wasted the money if they don't ask.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you that. What's some of the things that people do request from the sellers?
Well, at the end of the inspection period, a buyer has a choice. They can say, take your house, I'm not buying it, give me my earnest money back, I'm out, I'm done, we're down the road. They could also say, I love this house, I have no qualms, I will take it exactly as it is, and we'll request nothing. What most of the time happens is there are things that come up on some sort of an inspection that the buyer wants to negotiate with the seller and ask the seller to either fix, contribute some money toward fixing, that kind of things. And the things I tell buyers is the caulking around the tub is not something we're going to request. Because, first of all, it's not a major issue. It's a pain in the rear to do on a Saturday. Our neighbors were doing it, and it took them half a Saturday to get it cleaned out and half a Sunday to put it back in. It was like a nasty job, but they've got it done. But the other thing is, if you're the kind of person who likes caulking to be perfect in your bathroom and the seller isn't that way, you've just asked somebody who doesn't have the same level of feeling about the preciseness of the caulking. The other thing sometimes that buyers misunderstand is when you relinquish to the seller the responsibility of making those repairs, you are giving up the power to say who does it and to what level, other than that the contract says it must be done in a workmanlike manner. If it is done in a workmanlike manner, you can't say, like, you know, the Olympics, oh, that was a 10, or I'm only giving that a 4.5, and I want them to do it over again.
Right.
So if you've got a repair that you're particular about, you need to take that on yourself as the buyer, because that's the only way you maintain 100% control over who does it and how well it gets done.
But, you know, you can negotiate certain things. You can't be that picky. I mean, really, on something like that with the caulking, that's kind of, it seems kind of silly, but I'm sure you get it all the time.
Oh, it's happened.
You know, because people are the way they are.
Sometimes agents don't counsel their buyers really well on, you're not buying a brand new house. When you buy a brand new house,
different.
The builder will make that caulking look wonderful. But if you're not buying a brand new house, it's lived a little.
Right. And it's okay. It gives a character anyway.
Yes. It gives you something to do on a Saturday.
So now let's again talk to them about how you're going to offer them the $500 towards their warranty.
So what we're doing is that for listeners of your show who either call in through you or directly to me and say that they are Carol Blonder or KFNX listeners, and then they close a transaction with us, we will contribute $500 toward a warranty, either when they're a seller and they're buying that warranty for a buyer, or as a buyer if you end up having to pay for it yourself.
You can call her direct at 602-373-0115. The website is boldrealtyaz.com. You work valley-wide. I want to go back really quickly, too, to some of the way that you take on and talk to your clients and go through the contract in just a second. I also want people to know that you can call in here. I'm going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show for any of the things that we're giving away, including if you want to get connected with Caryn, and I will make sure that you get in and tell them that you heard it on Networking Arizona. 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. I want to talk about how, when I remember the first time I sat with you and here on the show, and you were talking about how you sit down and talk to your clients about the contract, and I want you to explain that, because it's really neat what you do.
I think you and I were talking specifically about what I call a buyer consultation. I'll meet with a new client at a Starbucks or soda fountain shop shop or something like that where we can have a table and we've got air conditioning. I buy the coffee or the sodas, and I start with a pretty little folder, and in it we'll have the seller's disclosure statement. We talk about that, how important that is, and the seller will provide a copy of that. We talk about the homeowners association addendum, because that's going to be part of the contract that they're going to see. We talk about how agency law works in the state of Arizona, that you really don't want an agent who represents both a buyer and a seller in a transaction. We talked about this on the last show, because that agent legally can't do hardly anything for either person without violating the law. And then we go over the contract, and page by page we talk about, here's where we're going to put in how much you're offering, here's where your earnest money is, here's how much your loan amount or the balance if you're doing it in cash. We talk about when you get the keys, we talk about when you need the money, we talk about how soon you need the money, we talk about the different loan programs. What if you're eligible for a 0% down, or the property you're buying is eligible because it's out in the rural areas? Why wouldn't you need to know all that? And then what are closing costs? What are title fees? What are seller fees? What day of the month do we want to close over any other day of the month? And then just kind of asking them about themselves. They get a chance to grill me and say, well, how do we make this part of it happen? Because people have had worries about how things are going to come together, and so that gives them that opportunity to get to know me, and we're going to become friends through this whole thing. And like I said before, the more information you can give people, the more comfortable they feel and the less stress that they have.
And you're going to love her, and you're also going to be referring other people to her.
That's my hope.
That's the way it is. And, you know, you really ought to be talking to them just the way she mentioned it. You know, a lot of people, when you're going to sell or buy a house and you get a realtor, a lot of times maybe you'll go with a friend or whatever, but having someone like Caryn, there's not a lot of people that do what you just do. They don't say any of that. They might just talk to them for a few minutes, and then, they're excited because they can't wait to get the house, on the market, or their
Correct.
house. That's what it is. But you really take them step by step all the way through. I love what you do. You could check her out on her website. It's boldrealtyaz.com. She's valley-wide. She does free consultations. It's 602-373-0115. Tell her you heard it on Networking Arizona. You're going to get a $500 towards your home warranty.